Hello students, today in our 10th standard physics class, let's move to the lesson 1, laws of motion, and this is our session number 4. At today's class, let's learn about Newton's second law of motion. Then let's learn about 1 Newton, 1 dyne, and some information about unit force, impulse, and with the correct examples for the impulse, Newton's third law of motion, and finally let's learn about the principle of conservation of linear momentum. Now let's move on to the lesson. Students, today let us learn about the Newton's second law of motion. Last class I taught you about the first law of motion and their applications. Now let's move to the second law of motion. According to this law, the force acting on a body is directly proportional to the rate of change of linear momentum of the body, and the change in momentum takes place in the direction of the force. Actually, this law helps to measure the amount of force, so it is also called as law of force. Let us have some illustrations. See, I have introduced a golf hitting short film. This is to support you about this law. Let me explain this with some other terms. Where m is the mass of a moving body. Here the moving body is this. This is the moving body. Then u is the initial speed of the body. Actually, initially the body does not have any speed because it was in rest position. Then v is the velocity of the body. The body receives a force from that golf stick and it moves to a distance and it has the velocity. T is the time interval of the body. That means between the rest and the movement or the displacement there is a time interval, and that time interval is referred with T. F is the unbalanced external force. This external force was given by this person. Now, what is the initial momentum of the body? That means that Pi, as you know, in the last class I told about you the momentum P is equal to m into V. Here the initial momentum is u, so we use the initial momentum Pi. Initial is equal to mu. Then the final momentum of the body Pf final is equal to m into V. Here V refers to the velocity of the body. Therefore, change in momentum, that is del P, is equal to Pf minus Pi. That means the final minus the initial is equal to mv minus mu. By Newton's second law of motion, F, that means the force, is directly proportional to the change of momentum. F proportional in change momentum with respect to the time, that is F is proportional to mv minus mu. Here m is the mass of the body and v is the final velocity and u is the initial velocity with respect to the time. See, if we have anything with the directly proportional, then we have to add some constant to equal the equation. Now we here add k as a constant, and what is that k? K is the proportionality constant which is equal to 1, and k is equal to 1 in all system of units. Hence, F is equal to mv minus mu. Here we take m as a common from this equation. We take m as a common, so equate this and m v minus u into t. Since acceleration equal to change in velocity per time, therefore a is equal to v minus u per time. We have f is equal to m into a, because instead of this values, that is v minus u into t, we put the acceleration a here. So f is equal to m into a, and which is force is equal to mass into acceleration. SI unit of force is Newton, and in GPS system we used to say it as dyne. Let us see some 2 mark important questions here in this lesson, in this third part. First one is 1 Newton N. The amount of force required for a body of mass 1 kg produces an acceleration of 1 meter per second square, or 1 ms minus 2. 1 Newton is equal to 1 kilogram per second square, or 1 Newton is equal to 10 to the power 5 dyne. This dyne is in CGS system that you all know in the your 9th standard or in 8th standard. And now let me explain about this dyne. See, Newton is referred in SI system and dyne is referred in CGS system. The amount of force required for a body of mass 1 gram produces an acceleration of 1 centimeter minus 2, or 1 Newton is equal to 1 gram cms minus 2. Then unit force. What do you mean by this unit force? The amount of force required for a body to produce an acceleration of 1 meter per second square in a body of mass 1 kg is called as unit force. Now let's move to the gravitational unit of force. 1 kgf, that is kilogram force, is equal to 1 kg into 9.8 meter per second square, that is 9.8 n Newton, and 1 gf is equal to 1 g into 980 centimeter minus 2, or 980 dyne. Let's see some other important things in this lesson. Very important 2 mark question is impulse. A large force acting for a very short interval of time is called impulsive force. Can you get the point? A large force acting for a very short interval of time is called impulsive force. Then what do you mean by impulse? When a force F acts on a body for a period of time t, that means the required period, then the product of force and time is known as impulse, and the impulse is denoted by J. We have impulse J is equal to force into time, and by Newton's second law, F is equal to del P divided by T. Here del refers to change, and del P is equal to F into T, and therefore if you substitute all these things in the value of del P in equation, this is a impulse J is equal to F into T, then J is equal to del P. And what is the unit of this impulse? Its unit is kilogram meter per second minus 1, or Newton seconds. See, Change in momentum can be achieved in two ways. What are the ways? They are a large force acting for a short period of time, like tsunami or some other force like storm. Then second one is a smaller force acting for a longer period of time. We can have this as a small breeze. Next, examples for impulsive forces. Automobiles are fitted with springs and shock absorbers to reduce jerks while moving on uneven roads. It's very important to have a shock absorber in each and every four-wheeler, two-wheeler and everything. Okay. Then second example is in cricket, a fielder pulls back his hand while catching the ball. He experiences a smaller force for a longer interval of time to catch the ball, resulting in a lesser impulse on his hand. This you all experienced, I think. Okay. So let's move to the next part of this lesson. It's Newton's third law of motion. Many of us know about this third law of motion. Is it? Let me explain what is that. Newton's third law states that for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. They always act on two different bodies. And what are the examples for this? First example is when birds fly, they push the air downwards with their wings. This is an action. And the air pushes the birds upward is called the reaction. Second example is when a person swims, he pushes the water using the hands backward. This is action. And the water pushes the swimmer in the forward direction is the reaction. Third one is when you fire a bullet, the gun recoils backward and the bullet is moving forward is action. And the gun equalizes the forward action by moving backward is the reaction here. I think all these three files, the files will show you the examples clear and neatly. See students, now we are moving into the important 5-mark question in this lesson. Principle of conservation of linear momentum. Very important question. Last year also they usually asked in each and every examinations. There is no change in linear momentum of a system of bodies as long as no net external force acts on it. Thus mean this shows that if there is no external force, there is no change in linear momentum of a system of bodies. See, usually all the teachers of 10th standard and 12th standard support you and we force you to study because the exam in the examination time you cannot read or you cannot study all the lessons by the examination time. So that's why we are forcing you to learn the lessons by day. But most of the students nowadays are not interested in having their doing their homeworks and having their lesson part. Maybe only 20 or 25% of this year 10th standard students are interested in the examinations. I want you to remember one thing. You are going to write the examination in 2021 March or April. That's true. That's going to be happen. So you have to get ready for the examinations even now itself. You have time from now. Let's get into the lesson. Let's see using the principle of conservation momentum, and we can prove this principle of conservation of momentum using this example one. I think you all can see two balls. One is M1, that is mass of first ball A is M1, and the mass of the second ball B is M2. Usually the first ball A have an initial velocity U1 and the second ball have the initial velocity U2. They travel and they collide with each other with the force of A and the force of B. At last they move in a straight line with the force velocity of V1 and for the ball A and V2 for the ball B. I have given a terms for this reference. Force on body B due to A. This is the force on a body B due to A. FB is equal to M2 V2 minus U2 divided by T, and the force on the body A due to B. This is an example for about this collision. Now FA is equal to M1 V1 minus U1 divided by T. By Newton's third law of motion, we can define action is equal to reaction force. That is FA is equal to minus FB. We can put all the two things in the left and right side. Now M1 V1 minus U1 divided by T is equal to minus M2 V2 minus U2 divided by T. You can arrange the M1 V1 plus M2 V2 to the one side and M1 U1 plus M2 U2 to the other right hand side. See, we are rearranging the equation as velocity to the left side and the initial velocity in the right side. The above equation confirms in the absence of an external force, the algebraic sum of the momentum after collision is numerically equal to the algebraic sum of the momentum before collision. You can see the algebraic sum of the momentum after collision. This M1 V1 plus M2 V2 is after collision, and M1 U1 plus M2 U2 is the algebraic sum of momentum before collision. Thank you, students. See you in the next class.